Out of the waters of the Hudson River, and as you have no doubt heard by now, it was an entire family, their very first day on their long hoped for trip to America coming out of Spain, and they all were killed along with the pilot when something went horribly wrong with that sightseeing helicopter. I believe they were about 18 minutes into the flight when the worst thing possible happened. Now, as you have probably heard, when it happened yesterday, by the way, these are some of the pictures. You just take a look at the emergency response out there in the cold waters of the Hudson. There are some witnesses who said they saw the chopper split in half before it went down near Pier 40, with one man reporting the aircraft made almost what sounded like a sonic boom. And if you've seen the video, it's out there in some places where you can actually see it land or crash land, and it lands in the water. And so of course there was hope at the first that perhaps there would be survivors. Obviously when you come from that kind of a height and you crash onto concrete or pavement or a building, there's no hope. But it does turn out, some of the reporting indicates that two members of the family, they're not saying if it was the kids or the mom and the dad, were still alive, barely, when they were pulled out of the water. So they've now been identified as Agustin Escobar, who is an executive from a company in Spain, and his wife Merce, their two young daughters, 4 and 5, and their 11-year-old son. They all perished along with a 36-year-old pilot. Now, it is very interesting because the man who owns this helicopter that was providing the tour, a guy named Michael Roth, did say, here's his quote. He was telling the Telegraph, the pilot called in that he was landing and that he needed fuel, and it should have taken him about 3 minutes to arrive, but they knew something was wrong, he said, because 20 minutes later, he still hadn't arrived. You know, at the same time, no doubt there had been people that had seen, you know, it's such a heavily populated area. By the way, there's the route it went. It took off from a heliport on just the lower southern tip of Manhattan, came all the way up the Hudson, and look, there it crashed right along the shore by Jersey City, New Jersey, and it was that close to returning to home base when the crash happened. Here's the quote that I think is so interesting from this Michael Roth, being quoted again, this time by the New York Post. He says, I have not seen anything like this in my 30 years of being in business, in the helicopter business. Then he says, to his mind, there were only two possibilities. One, that there had been some kind of a bird strike. Obviously would have had to have been a large bird, or he said the other option would be that the main rotor blades failed. And I've seen some images, some still images of the blade, one of the large blades coming apart, so that there really was no chance of surviving. Now he does stress, he says, I have no clue. I don't know. Nobody knows at this point. But the fact that he's so experienced, and he says there are really only two things I can even think about, was that there was a bird strike or that there was a situation where the main rotor blades failed. We have been told to stand by for an NTSB presser, and we do hope to learn additional information, but boy, Syleste, it's just one of those stories that you can't get out of your mind, because this beautiful family now all gone. And once again, you know, when the accident happened, it was a situation where there was almost no time to react.
Almost none.
Just like we saw in the Washington, D.C. plane crash not that long ago. From the moment of impact with that crash, they were in the water, it looked like, in about 3 seconds.
Well, the wild thing about this video, and I don't think we had it for you, it really is disturbing and heartbreaking, but when you see that helicopter, and it's floating around online, the helicopter in this situation, it just kind of turns and tumbles as it is headed, you know, right into the Hudson River. Right. And you can just imagine, I think some of the images we've shown you, it's heartbreaking. You can see like a pink sneaker, and a tennis shoe, and you think, if you've ever been on a helicopter, sometimes you are thinking, wow, this is really cool. But with anything that we do, especially in the air, I think we had a comment from someone here on our chat. Charles David said that his grandfather used to fly in the chat. Big thank you for sharing the story. His grandfather used to fly a helicopter here in Arizona. He was an instructor as well and a pilot, and he said never to get into one. And that's from his grandfather. But they are used for tours, in a lot of different cities. Tourism, it's a big part of tourism around the world. But it's just a heartbreaking and sad story. And the video is quite disturbing. Yeah.
Okay, there's another big story that we're following for you today, and it has to do with yet another issue on the I-10 freeway. The lanes have been shut down since an accident earlier this morning. We're trying to learn a little bit more about what actually happened out there. I believe we have some video from the actual accident. It's hard to imagine that anybody in the front seat could have survived just literally plowing into the back of that semi-truck. How it could have happened, because the semi was obviously over there to the side of the highway, is still to be learned. But these are the westbound, so these are the outbound lanes from Phoenix off toward California, closed since earlier today when it happened in Tonopah. Syleste, you've been in touch with somebody who's actually been out there and stuck in the traffic backup.
Yeah, and I believe, do we have Ray on the phone this morning? Ray, good morning.
Morning.
Hey, my friend, thank you for joining us. Are the lanes back open right now, headed to the west?
Yeah, they finally opened up the lanes. Now we're actually moving now. So the cars, they were just turning them around and then making them get back on the off ramp. I think it was like the 198, I want to say, exit, and then they're just getting back on. But they were just picking up the last of everything. But we're all moving now westbound.
I met Ray Ron.
We'll just point out this is videotape from earlier.
It is.
When it was still shut down, but as he's reporting, they've just reopened. Go ahead.
So Ray, you were sharing with me, I guess you were stuck starting at 7:40 this morning, right? So it was a while.
Yeah. It was just a complete stop when I was there, and didn't realize what it was, and then all of a sudden all the emergency response units were coming beside us. Happened to step out of the truck, and there was only like 4 trucks in front of me where the accident was.
Yeah, you were so close.
Were you able to get close enough to the accident scene to see kind of what was going on with emergency responders?
No, I was stuck behind those trucks, so I really couldn't see too much. But when I got out to walk and look over, they were out there just doing the photographs and had those cones from where the skid marks were on the road, where it looked like where the car pretty much got slammed underneath the DOT bumper, and then the semi just kind of pulled off the side, but the car was jammed there tight enough, it ain't coming out.
Wow. To give all of you who are hanging with us on YouTube and a little bit of background, so, Ray, you work for FedEx, you drive this I-10. I mean, how many, like 4 times a week, right? You're driving the I-10, taking shipments, and you see, unfortunately, a lot of these crashes. Oh,
I could say almost every other day there's a rollover or something like this, just every day, it's amazing,
it's actually, when you think about it, you have 2 of the biggest metro areas in the country that are connected by this freeway. Talking about the Los Angeles area over to Riverside and San Bernardino, that whole area, then connected to Phoenix, another major metropolitan area, and you just have these 2 lanes. I remember when I moved here in the early 1980s, it was 2 lanes in each direction, and it still is to this day. I don't know if there are plans to improve this freeway to perhaps boost safety with a 3rd lane or even a 4th lane in each direction, but hopefully something like that can happen. Ray, when you witness some of these accident scenes, is there a certain time of day where they're happening? Is there any? I don't want to say they're repeating the same way over and over, but what kind of insight can you share?
I It really happens early in the mornings. I think it's a lot of it is just people falling asleep. The truck drivers just falling asleep. A lot of that comes to it, and stuff like this right now. I think it's just the rushing that people are just driving out here. That right there. I mean, I don't know. We see this. I mean, our trucks are governed at 65, so that's the top speed we could go. So these cars trying to get around us sometimes because they're upset because we can't go any faster. And they're going by us going 85, 90, 100 miles per hour. And that's pretty much how that was caused right there with that accident.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know, we hear from truckers too.
Yeah.
So often truckers are like, look, we're doing the best job we can do. And in this particular case, we should just point out, I can't quite fathom how that vehicle, the 4-passenger vehicle, literally slammed into the back of the truck that had pulled over there in the emergency lane. I'm sure they'll come up with some answers, but a tough situation, to say the least.
Ray, stay safe out there, my friend. Thank you so much for taking a few moments with us this morning.
You got it.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, yeah, Celeste, you were chatting with him just a little bit earlier this morning and got this info.
Yeah, just texting with him as he was on the road and driving. And once in a while, he'll send me pictures like through text, and he'll say, hey, I'm in the middle of this crash. And a lot of times it's in California, but this time it happened to be in Arizona. And I mean, that image, Ron, it's awful.
It is.
I think they had to use the jaws of life to extricate the person from the front seat.
Yeah. You know, and a lot of times those semis in particular have a bar that comes across at a kind of a 90-degree angle. It's like a hard U shape that prevents a vehicle from sliding underneath. I wasn't able to tell whether that particular one did or not. All right, so a couple of sad stories to start. We're going to take a break. We actually have a bunch of good news stories coming up.
And some folks
break.
in the chat, Ron, they have a question for you.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
Well, you'll have to wait.
Oh, the drama. I hardly can.
The deep tease.
But here we go with, this is kind of cool. Check this out. Our mystery cam. You guys give us your guesses, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
It's like a carnival or something.
Okay, we're back with the mystery cam. Celeste, we're getting all kinds of guesses.
We are. We've
What
got.
did you say, by the way, that it looks like a carnival?
It kind of looks like a carnival a little bit almost. Like,
Okay.
see towards the bottom?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't see the Ferris wheel. I'm actually probably wrong.
Okay. Well,
But
still.
it just looks so colorful down there on that little area, you know?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see, Michigan, that's coming in from Linda. Tessa is on, and let's see, Jim is saying, we appreciate you, Jim. Mississippi.
Aww. Okay, so we've got a Washington from Louis Gonzalez. Kim Winnett says South Carolina. We've got a B. Miguel from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We have Linda Monter says Michigan.
Okay.
Susan Anthony, Cleveland. Jim Fine. Good. We haven't heard from Jim in a while. Jim, we're just saluting you this morning. Mississippi.
Yeah.
And then we have a Sherry Nevada Pup says Texas. Another Louisiana from Michael Lewis.
Oh, Baton Rouge from
Baton
Little
Rouge.
Philosophy. All right, what's your guess, Celeste?
I'm going to go maybe like a St. Louis.
Missouri.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe Missouri.
I'm going to go South Carolina.
Okay.
Because there are only so many bridges in America that have that particular look. There's a big one in Boston. I imagine it's the same dude that built both those bridges.
Oh, yeah. And
This
I think
one?
he likes to be called Dude.
Yeah, and I remember being in Charleston, South Carolina, and seeing a bridge that was like that, but it doesn't look like Boston. So process of elimination, I'm going Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is the
here it
mystery
is.
cam.
Yep.
Okay, who said Texas?
Oh, we got a Texas?
We've got a Corpus Christi, Texas.
Oh, there you go.
Nice
let's
work.
see, that was Sherry Nevada Pup.
Sherry Nevada Pup, well done.
Oh, Sherry, you're the best. Okay, so the question is, this is not a question, it's just a statement. Boy, did we get a surprise in the inflation report today.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The
Do tell more.
producer price index actually dropped. Now look, they want to get inflation running at about 2%, but it's a really good sign when prices are actually dropping. So basically it measures at the wholesale level. It's an indicator of where we're going to be in the next month or two for consumer prices. And basically oil has been dropping so fast, it hasn't made a lot of headlines, Celeste, because everybody's worried about what's going on with the stock market.
Yeah, so remember in the recession, I think it was like over $100 a barrel. And then what was it, earlier this week we saw it under 60. What's it now?
Correct. Yeah, it's still right around 60.
Wow, look
And
at the market
the
rally.
zigging and the zagging currently at, I was about to say it was at 40,000. Oops, now it's at 39.9. Now it's at 30. Anyway, it changes every second, that's for sure. But that is, I think, really good news, and a lot of it has to do with what's going on with the price of oil. Now, when it comes to people's finances, Celeste,
Yes, Ron?
here is the big story of the day. 2 states have decided that in order to compete with other states and also to make people happy,
Okay.
they're going to try to eliminate their income taxes.
Oh,
What
I
about
like that. I
Do
like
ya?
that. So then where do they plan on getting money for roads and things like that?
Well,
Maybe?
the states that don't have income taxes, like I came from Washington, which is a liberal state, and you would think they would have a sky-high income tax.
And what about Oregon?
Oregon is the opposite. They have a big income tax, but no sales tax.
That's what it is, yeah.
And so in Washington, they have a pretty high sales tax, and they do have a little higher property taxes as well. So that's just something to
That's
keep
how they
in mind.
make it up.
But in Mississippi, they're saying they're going to raise the gas tax.
Okay.
And they'll kind of monitor it to see how it goes. But
good.
here's the bottom line. They say that they're going to cut their rate to 3% and then gradually over 14 years bring it to 0 as long as things are kind of working the way they think they will. And so they say, look, here's our situation. Here are the states we compete with for jobs and people moving here. Texas,
Okay.
right over there. Tennessee, right up there, right above them on the map. Can you see it? And then Florida's right over here. So you have 3 states that are all booming. In fact, those 3 states in Arizona are probably the 4 boomingest states in the United States, and all 3 of them have no income tax.
That's
so
right.
Mississippi is looking at it and saying, we've got to be able to compete with them. We'll make people happy. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to raise these gas taxes. Some people are like, I don't like the sound of that. But here it is as a poll question for you. Syleste, people are hopping on and giving their opinions here. And here's how it's looking so far. 68% say, should Arizona do it?
Oh.
68% say, yeah, sure. You think we're not already paying too much in taxes?
I mean, think of what you would do with all that money. You know, be able to pay off your car, or maybe like, you know, take your family on a vacay.
Sure. What about
save
your
a little
credit
bit more
cards,
money,
Celeste?
pay off the credit cards.
Yeah. Do you pay yours off every month? Or do you let
Ron,
it slide?
you know, we're getting a little bit. Yes, I do.
Do you? Good for you. Okay.
I'm gonna start calling you Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, good. 9% say, you know, don't do it. We need that money for government programs. 8% say they should actually raise them. Soak the rich.
Wow.
And 16% say gradually reduce them and see how it goes. We always try to give you guys multiple options, and I think that's a pretty good example of giving you the multiple options.
What would you do with a little bit of extra cash, Ron?
Oh, that's a really good
You know,
question.
if you had a little bit of extra cash lying around, like, you know, you were like, oh, I have some extra money.
Yeah. Well, Celeste, what would I... we do have a car loan we got to pay off.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I'd pay off Renee's car.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
Anyway, all right.
So practical.
Look, it's 100. It's going to be 102 today.
Yes, it is.
If anybody nails the forecast, it is our very own Crystal Ortiz. She told us yesterday it would be 100. She was exactly right. It wasn't 99 or 98. It wasn't 103. It was 100 exactly. And she says today will be 102.
Okay.
And I believe the number we're looking for on Saturday is 100.
Yes, and then eventually by next week we'll drop back down into the 90s. But I think our normal high is somewhere in the 80s. I think Crystal shared.
I know.
So the question is, what does our summer have in store?
Right.
Does that mean our summer is going to be hotter, or it just means we're going to be hot or warmer until we hit that summer point?
Yeah. Well, I know everybody's worried about it. We're all traumatized from last year, the summer that would never end.
Yes.
You know, September was awful. The first day of October was 117. It seems impossible.
Ron, in the chat, they said if they had some extra money, Ron, you should buy tacos.
Okay.
Invest for retirement.
Okay.
And
this is in order. So you get that extra, say you got an extra $100 in your paycheck.
Go for the tacos.
First you go for the tacos.
Yeah.
You don't anymore, you wouldn't even have to worry about Taco Tuesday.
Yeah,
You'd be like, I got an extra $100. I'm gonna have tacos on a Wednesday.
That's right.
Why not?
Exactly.
Okay, so let me just share this with you, Celeste. If you are out this weekend and you're going to be running in the Pats Run, just remember it's going to be 100 degrees. Celeste.
Yes.
Name the photographer who took that great photo of a Pats Run a few years ago.
I'm going to guess Tom Fergus.
No, you'll have to come. It's even one of your better friends than that.
Ron Hoon.
Thank you. I did take that picture. That's those shiny buildings there over right when you're first starting by Sun Devil Stadium.
Did you run Pats
I was
Run?
running and I took that picture.
Well, it's pretty good for running.
And I love this guy. He ran
that's
the
a
whole
great shot.
4.2 miles with Old Glory. You can see it was a few years ago because they haven't quite finished all those tall buildings. Oh, you know, the Carvana building and the State Farm building. They're still just like halfway up. Let me see what else we've got in terms of the rest of our photos here.
That is a really great shot.
Oh, look at that. I had a fan rooting me on, Mason,
That's
my
so
little
great.
grandson. And we really did. We had such a good time out there running. Just remember, it's going to be warmer than usual this time around, so
Yes.
you know, hydrate extra.
So I did ask folks in the chat, I said, what is hot to you?
Yeah.
So we have a couple of different options
Oh,
here.
good.
People are chiming in.
What do you got?
So 105 is hot. That's
Okay.
what Linda Monter said. Frankie
Okay.
D said 115.
All right.
Husky Mom said 78 plus degrees.
Well,
110 Louis Gonzalez.
yeah, generally we don't use the H word until we hit 110.
Yeah, that's
Because
like,
I'm sorry, but 99 and 98 is not hot.
it's not by Arizona standards.
Okay,
Usually.
you know, so we have those graphics from Pat's Run, but wait till you see the graphics I'm going to share with you right now, Celeste. Are you ready to be Well, I don't know if it's like...
Am I going to be wowed?
You're going to be wowed, I think, because we can tell you that Jelly Roll is getting skinnier by the day.
So this is him in his new self, his new body.
Yeah.
Good for him.
You know, I said, but that's part of how he rolls, is that he's a man of size. But, you know, he just posted these pictures to his Instagram. I think we've got one other as well. He's been very, this, I love this. Can you see what's happening? He's up in Canada, and they're coming down one of those slides. Look at him.
Good for him. You know, I kind of feel like this is, people are more about health these days. It used to be like you had to be thin, you had to be a certain size, no matter whether or not you were female or male. But now it's more about like, let's just be healthy.
Okay.
So if you're a healthy body and you got more curves and, you know, that's just who you are,
Go
own
with
it, then you're beautiful.
Right.
You know, if you're healthy is a little bit slimmer.
Right.
Hey, own it.
Correct.
You know?
I don't think anybody could take the other side of that argument. Who's against curves?
I don't know a person who's against you.
Not me. Celeste, I want to introduce you to Janet. We just have a couple of minutes left here, but I did an interview with a lady the other day in the checkout line at the grocery store.
Oh, yes.
And I said, ma'am, can I just ask what you're doing? Because she was buying bags and bags of rice, and there were like canned food items and everything. This is Janet, and this is what she said. This is a little 1 minute, less than a minute interview with my favorite new lady. Ready? Here's Janet. My favorite new person, Janet. Hi, Janet.
Hello.
Look at everything you're donating to the food bank. And you've been doing this once a month?
Once a month for about 2 years.
And what started you on this journey 2 years ago?
Church.
Yes? What did they say that day in church?
Well, it wasn't what they said. It's, I go to the church, they have the food bank in Gold Canyon. And they need a lot of food.
Do they?
Yes.
So which food bank is that?
Gold Canyon
Gold
Food Bank.
Canyon. Okay. I'm going to let everybody know.
Bye.
Because of your good heart. Okay, bye.
She was so sweet.
She does have a good heart.
Oh, did you just the look in her eyes?
Yes,
it's
right.
Just warm, just amazing.
How happy she was.
I know.
Right?
Gold Canyon Food Bank.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a beautiful
way
part.
out there on the eastern edge of the valley.
Wow.
But there are a lot of other food banks, from St. Mary's to one in your community too. Maybe we could all do a little bit more like Janet.
So you were saying she does that once a month.
Yeah, how about that?
That's so great.
It is so great.
She's an angel.
All right, Celeste, I feel like,
Yes.
I'm not saying we need to pat ourselves on the back, but I feel like this is the best show of the week, followed by the worst show of the week, which was yesterday, right?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's fun to kind of figure out where we go and what happens, and when we go to black, and then many of you, and then you guys want to watch, because you want to watch what happens
But
next.
for now, we got to say our goodbyes.
Have a great weekend, everyone. See you Monday.